Hello again. Pearl Foy, A to Z haircutting, back on it. Okay, our last haircut was our uniform layered 90-degree cut. And what I did it on the A-frame cut that we had done before. So I'm hoping that you can see all those separated spots in this dry hair. The way the light hits and stuff, you can't hardly tell. But if you get your own mannequin, and I strongly recommend, please use mannequins on this. They're not that expensive. Go on Amazon. Go on, what is it? There's another one, eBay, I guess, and see what you can find. But it doesn't take, it shouldn't take very long for them to come in. But go through our introduction. Go through the different types of cuts. The main thing that I do want you to think about, though, I mean, if you can afford to buy more than one. When you first get started, do each cut more than once. Doing it one time is not enough, especially the zero elevation. Take off an inch. Go through the procedure. The procedure is so extreme. That's when you know how to do it. All right, so this is the uniform layer, and like I said, we bent it down and it's all even, so it's going to take on the form, the shape of the head. After this cut today, we are going to start on men's hair cutting. I know you've all been waiting for this, and you've been thinking, okay, you know, when is she going to do that? We need to get started on that. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do that uniform layer. But the last time I said, when I want to make sure you get all of it. I know I'm kind of stumbling over stuff right now. But what I want to do is, we said, all right, we did the A-frame, we'd already did the 180. What I'm going to do now, and I know where I'm at, all right? I've been sectioning them for you in the past. Now when I do this cut, I'm going to tell you where I'm at. And I'm hoping that you understand the concept. Remember I said everything is going to be straight out. So today, you're going to get the uniform layer step by step in the method that I teach it. The uniform layer and it's going to be step by step. I showed you, I'm going to give you an example again as far as a lot of beauty school students, 99% of the educators teach it this other way. I teach it this way, but you'll find that what happens in teaching it this way, it takes you, it's the same diagram, it's the same cut. It's just step by step, spot by spot, location by location. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the zero. So all the hair is going to come down and we're going to travel around the head form just like we did with the zero. The next thing we're going to do, let me section off the parietal line, we're going to do the 180. Everything straight up. And I'm going to do it front to back. If I do it side to side, what ends up happening, remember, we talked about the perimeter line. This mannequin here, she might fall down. I don't want her to fall down. Can you see that mannequin over there, cameraman? If you can't, I'll just move it over. I can pick it up. This mannequin here, well, darn it. Hang on a minute. Let me get organized. I've only got, you can see it? All right, good. Okay, so what we did along the perimeter line, we created that hard line by going side to side. So you see what happens. We needed to go front to back, as you know, on the sides. Below the parietal line, it created movement. Well, see, that doesn't allow movement. It comes down, it lays down. So that's why we're going to go on this one, we're going to go front to back. So there you go. And you can do it side to side, front to back. What do you want as a result as far as the 180? After that, just along below the parietal line, right at the tip of the ear, and remember, tip of the ear to tip of the ear on the other side is mid-occipital. If you're not understanding these terms, go to the introduction. We take you step by step. We're here to teach you, not just show you, but we use professional terms because this becomes precise or precision haircutting. All right, so then we took it, we held it straight out, and then we took off a corner. Why did we have that corner? What happens when hair travels? When this area on the hair traveled up, first it traveled down, then it traveled up. Well, this center spot here traveled, so when it travels, it became longer. And there you go, that was a result of that. And that happened all the way around the occipital, all the way around on the flat part of the head. The next step was, all right, so now the hair at the parietal line traveled. So then that's when we ride the parietal line to get rid of that. So we rode the parietal line and we cut that off, all right? Once we took this corner off, do you see where it is all one length, the same length? This is what makes it easier. Normally when you're taught, or someone that has not had this class or has not learned it this way, after a while you just learn to do it. I mean, you learn just like I'm going to do today. You know where you're at on the head form, so you just go with it and you'll be able to do it without a problem. But normally what they teach is, I'm going to do the head form again, just real quick here. I'm just doing the back. Normally what they have you do is part it down the center, take a section, cut it. This becomes your guide. Take another section, cut it. This becomes your guide. Take another section, cut it. Are we doing the same thing? Yes, we're doing the same thing. Only we're traveling with it and the room for error becomes extreme. Where if you take one section, do it, go back to the other section, know where your corners are, know what happens when hair travels. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and do that cut. I'm going to do it quickly. It's not going to take that long for me to do it. It better not. 52 years. I mean, normally in a salon, I could do a haircut in 15 minutes or less. And that's just part of knowing where you're at to know where you're going. So I'm going to bring the mannequin in this form. I've got her parted down the center already. We're going to take her pretty short. This is the mannequin that we did RV in. Do you remember? Everything is held forward. This hair is the hair that traveled the most, all the way up. Also a way for face framing when you bring it forward but you don't take it back behind the ear. All of those cuts we've already done. What I want to do is I'm going to tilt your head forward because this inverts in. So I'm going to take it close to the skin. What I want you to see that happens, well, first of all, I'm just going to cut it straight down to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take it from the center vertex. I'm going to bring it straight down. I'm going to be using the secondary cutting position, and it makes it difficult. Diagram, by the way. Diagram the cut. I've got all these diagrams. See, we didn't do the 180 here, but we saw, you see where it's pulled out to the sides. You see all my notes everywhere. Here we go. Ride the parietal line on each side. Take care of the nape because that's where you're going to end up with your corners. Simple as that. But you really should diagram all of your haircuts until you get to know them. I mean, you know, if somebody can tell me about a cut, I know how to do it. So anyways, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bring this straight down and holding my elbow down, secondary position on the shear, and that's usually the one that you use most of the time. So I'm going to cut it straight across. This is what I want you to see. This hair has traveled out. What happens with it? When I bring this down, I don't know whether you can see it or not. I hope that you can, but you've got some little scragglers right there. And that's because of that nape line, and that's because that inverts in. So you've got those little scragglers. Otherwise, it looks like a good hard line. What happens when you do that, when you hold it straight out on somebody with really long hair, when they put their head down, that's going to pop out and it's going to look like, oh, they forgot to cut that part. So that's the why on taking it, bringing it in. Now I'm going to cut it at the skin. And you'll see, hoping that you can see this, but I'm holding that down, traveling around the head. And one thing that this does, this is great like for people with fine hair, because it creates a volume. And you don't see that anymore. All right, let me clean it up. I'm having to stand in front of it, and I don't really like doing that when I'm trying to teach you. It makes it a little difficult. So, again, traveling around the head form. And the only area that you really have to do that at is right here at the center nape, because the hair on the sides, let me loosen this up, bring her straight up again. I hope she's straight. The hair on, don't do that to your client, you know that already. Okay, the hair on the sides, see, the inversion in is not so much, where it truly, because of the occipital area, inverts in. Look at the comb. Do you see what I'm saying? See how close that is right there? Look at the comb here. See, these are just facts about hair cutting. See how this has to travel back to be cut? Where this travels straight down, this has to travel back along the perimeter line at the nape only. So once it goes below the occipital area and into the nape, that hair is tucked in and under. So these are factors about hair cutting. Again, more information for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn her, and I'm going to travel around the head form. And now I can just hold it straight down. See, it was just that center nape that I need to do that on. All right, so I'm traveling around. That previously cut hair is my guide. I'm going to bring this back to it. I'm going to turn her around this way, and you'll see me travel forward with it. So let me do this, because I truly want you to see this. See, there's my guide. I'll do this again. That hair right there is my guide. But I'm traveling, remember, around the head form. I'm not going to bring it back, because if I bring it back, hair travels straight down. We learned all of those straight down, straight in, straight forward, everything close to the head, those first few cuts that we did. So all I'm doing is repeating that. So I'm bringing this over, traveling around the head form, making sure she's even, using that previously cut hair as my guide. That's my guide right there. Now if I'm going to have a corner, can anybody remember where that corner is going to be if I end up longer on one side than the other? Does anybody remember that? Yes, it's going to be at that area behind the ear, right here. Because this, and then you turn. It's always going to create a little bit of a corner. Let's see if we're even. Are we even? Did we get it right? Oh my God, a little bit longer on this side. See that? All right, so let's come here. Bring it straight down. There it is. Ever so slight, you can barely see it, but it's just a little bit of a scotch that's longer, and surprisingly enough, as you travel around, that longer increases. I'm trying to make sure that, you know, your eyes are always going to be traveling, your eyes are going to be doing this, all right? You're looking up, you're looking down, looking up, looking down, making sure it just becomes an automatic thing that you do as you learn to cut. Okay, so let's look at it again. Are we even? Looks pretty good. I think I have a corner on that side. And don't ever, you know, I mean, many times, there it is. It's probably harder for you to see than for me, but I know it's there. So that's where I'm staying. There it is. And it's just, I mean, an ever so slight little oval, but surprisingly enough, as it travels, it becomes much more visible. And it wasn't, now look at how much more visible that is. So as it travels, you're going to find that it gets a little bit longer. Okay, now we're even. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so now what we're going to do, the 180. We've done the 0. Now we're going to do our 180. I'm going to do it front to back, just to make it quick. See, I know where I'm at. I know where the parietal line is at. I'm not going to travel below that. I want to take this off. Straight up. Everything held straight up now. Before that, all our cuts, like I said, were straight down. This becomes my guide. I'm just going to go back to the vertex. Where is the vertex? The vertex rests just above the parietal line within the mid area of the crown. All right, so now this hair, not the center part, the hair right next to it, previously cut, becomes my guide. And if you can't see it, you've got too much hair. All right, so I'm bringing that straight up. And this is, again, the uniform layered haircut. Move that over. I'm only going to take it to the parietal line. We're not bringing it all up. I mean, if you've got really, really long hair and you want to bring it all up, but I think what you're going to find that's going to happen, if I come to the temporal area, I run out of hair. There's very little hair to cut. And always, you know, if the comb's in your way, I'm sorry. All right, so I'm going to turn her around because I want you to see this. Again, there's her center part. I'm going to take that hair at the center part to be my guide for the previously cut hair. Let me find it. There it is. Okay, so I don't want that. I don't want to move it over that way. I want it straight up from where it grows. And I'm using that last haircut as my guide. There you go. Doing the exact same thing, just following through. And if you want, I'll put her upside down to show you that yes, she's totally flat and she's totally even. And you know, some people want you to cross-check. That's called cross-checking. The problem with cross-checking, and you'll hear that, is especially at the occipital. When we're cross-checking, in other words, I did it front to back, so you would do it side to side to cross-check it to make sure it's even. Okay, this is all pretty flat. I found a little long spot there. Anyways, this is all pretty flat. So it's going to do what we wanted to do. Do you see how I'm coming straight up at the parietal line? Straight up at the parietal line. I'm not too concerned about this hair traveling all the way over because see, it's shorter. It's not as long as that one, so it's just resting on that hair is what it's doing. So we know that by taking it front to back, and then you noticed I did horizontal partings here and I brought it straight up to that. What's that going to make this hair do? Is it going to make it stand up or is it going to make it lay down? Now, here's another factor. Doesn't matter whether you're cutting it straight up. Okay, see, it'll stay back now because I cut it front to back. So it stays back. So, so when you cut it side to side, you've got that hard line here. But again, this corner, I want you to see that I have a little bit of a corner right there. And that's because of this corner. So you go back and those are the things you check. The main thing is straight up from where it grows. So I'm going to take it straight up off the back. And again, we're just below the parietal line. Actually, we're right into what we would call the lower ridge. And again, you notice I am traveling around the head form. I'm not pulling anything over, traveling around the head form. I know where I'm at. So I have plenty of places that I can find a guide. I've got the guide off the flat part, a guide off the occipital, and therefore I know it's even. I'm going to go to the mid-occipital, but I would imagine, yep, we're out of hair. Very few little scragglers there. Let's go to the mid-occipital. Where's the mid-occipital? Tip of the ear, right at the center there. That's below the lower ridge. But I know that this is not going to reach up. See, the nape is not going to travel up that high. But the hair at the center Flat part, center occipital has traveled up, it's traveled down. You have a perimeter line here. So do you notice how much shorter this hair is to this hair? But the length variable is very close here. Now, I could have measured before I cut the area on top, I could have measured off the nape to see where it was at and then cut it. But I chose not to do that. I don't want it that short right now. See, those are the factors in hair cutting. The sectioning, the elevation, and this is the most important, the cutting, because that's what's taking it off. And you're deciding what length to do is a big factor. Okay, so we've done the 0, we've done the 180. I'll make you happy. It's flat. See it? Same thing. It's not different. Doesn't change. I held it straight up off the parietal line and brought everything up to the parietal line and held it straight up, subsectioning horizontally instead of vertically, because we did it front to back. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this little bit of a bang forward right there, because that's at the perimeter line. We're going to go from the parietal line, bring it straight out, and there is your corner. Okay? Extended. We're using the extended cut. So we're getting rid of the corner that was created. I hope you can see it. And what am I doing? I'm traveling around the head form. So we did 0, 180. Now we're traveling around the flat part and right at the parietal line. That's our line of elevation. However, everything is subsection vertically to the tip of the ear. You see that? Center occipital, and you see that I don't need to go any lower than that. Tip of the ear is pretty close. Now that's for this length. If I had longer layers, I may have to pull some off the bottom to do it. And that's where in the end, and you'll see that there's going to be a corner at the nape as well. So you see this cut, I hope you can see that. I'm going to turn her around. And again, put my elbow way up and only getting rid of the corner. Now what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to pull this hair out. Yeah, see it's even. I've got one little scraggler there. But you see what I'm saying? I'm checking it. When you check, just go back through your cut and check. If I were to take this and cross-check the opposite direction, I would end up with a bunch of little lines like this. The reason for that is because I'm doing vertical partings, holding it straight out, and you're not going to get a good hard line. So when you cross-check and you do this, then you keep cutting. Don't keep cutting. It's not that evident. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be like perfect, but once we turn the mannequin and you see it, it is going to be perfect. It is going to take on the shape of the head. The mistake that's made many times is, you know, they'll say, did you cross-check? There you go. See that corner? And you see I'm traveling around the head form. And the bad part is, okay, now I'm right here at the center occipital. This is round. So when I bring this straight out, I'm going to have a curve. And we have a slight short and a slight short. And then you're going to want to take that little curve off. You don't need to take that curve off. That curve is just fine right there where it's at. Every single hair with this cut doesn't have to be exact. We just want to get it to shape, gather the shape and the form of the head form. All right, so I'm going to bring the bangs forward. I'll clean that up in a little bit. Now from the parietal line down to the flat part, the temporal area, again, just a corner, and this is a slightly rounded corner. So I'm just taking off that length. See that? Short, short, round, or long. And then again, do you see my extended position? So many times when you're cutting, yeah, you've got to just kind of move your body. Now I'm traveling back to the occipital area. The corner's becoming a little more defined, short, short, long. And again, cutting vertically, but traveling around the head form. And see, I know where the parietal line is at, so there was no reason for me to section it. Otherwise, I would have sectioned each one that I'm cutting and then used the guide, the previously cut hair, as a guide. Now I'm at the center occipital. You see that corner, short. This is shorter. This is shorter. This is long. All right? So I'm taking that off. Slide corner right there. Now what's the next step? Does anybody remember the next step? What am I going to ride? The parietal line. So if I have to know where the parietal line is. This time I'm bringing that hair at the perimeter line, and do you see a corner? Many times when my students are doing the cut, I have to show them exactly where, they keep saying, Miss Foy, how do you find all the corners? Well, if you know what you're doing and you know where you're going, then you know where you're at. So I'm going to quickly bring this around. I've got about 4 minutes left. We do keep our classes at about 30 minutes because we don't want to wear you out with it. But what I want you to see is that this works, and you see there's those corners. I'm going to keep turning her. Coming around. And then coming around here. Again, still. That's right there. See, I would have been walking around or, moving my hydraulic chair for my client or walking around her, but instead I'm moving the mannequin around for you to see it. And I have a little scraggler right there at that center frontal. So I went ahead and took that off. There's a lot of movement here. Now when we do the nape, I'm going to do this really quick. There's going to be another corner here. Very slight corner. But what this does is this is what creates that complete uniform layer in the haircut where most of the hair all over is all, I'm going to turn my fingers the other way. It's all the same length. See that corner? All right. And I'm going to, again, there's a good corner there, traveling around the head form for this particular cut. There's that corner. And I'm at the side of the nape, so I'm going to turn it so you can see it. Very choppy haircut, cute haircut. Now, still want you to see that elevated up a little bit. If this was really short, if I'd have taken it to the jawline, remember, it would have been a mullet. Now, this is another factor that I want you to notice. Do you notice where the back is just a little bit longer than the sides? That, again, is because of the ear. We did not leave this out. I kept going, and I apologize for that because I wanted to show you the difference, but we're kind of running out of time, and I wanted to make sure that you got it. Now, here's the proof. See the head form. That's the shape of the head form. Now, because we rode the parietal line, do you see how that rounded that out a bit? All right? And the sides are flat. All right? So we have about a minute left. Sides are flat. It's a cute cut. There's a lot of volume to it. You can do so many things with this cut. So knowing how to do the uniform layer becomes extreme. Knowing what to do next becomes extreme. Get ready. We're going to start learning on our next cut how to do scissor over comb. But first you've got to learn scissor over comb. Take care. God bless. I hope this helps.